Why Roman Catholic priests do not marry, this will shock you. Yes, once upon a time, especially between the 8th and 11th centuries, many Roman Catholic priests were married. Some even passed down their parishes, church lands, and sacred duties to their biological sons. They were not only shepherds, they were lords of land and wealth. The priesthood in some regions became a hereditary estate. Church property was treated like a family treasure. Altars became family inheritance, and some priests were more concerned with managing land than shepherding souls. It was not always about holiness. Sometimes, it was about power, dynasty, and profit. And then, corruption crept in. With family came conflict of interest. With inheritance came simony, the sale of sacraments. With marriage came a priesthood that looked less like Christ and more like a medieval aristocracy. Priests became torn between family obligations and pastoral responsibilities. Some even neglected the flock in order to secure wealth for their descendants. The church saw the rot, and wept. Then the reformers rose up. Holy voices began to cry out for reform. Saint Peter Damian, Pope Leo IX, and especially Pope Gregory VII, Hildebrand. They began what history calls the Gregorian Reform in the 11th century. Their mission? Purge simony. End corruption. And yes, reclaim celibacy as the visible mark of a priest fully consecrated to Christ. This wasn't about shaming marriage. It was about restoring the sacredness of the priesthood. But go back even further, celibacy wasn't new. In the early church, even married priests practiced continence, abstaining from conjugal relations after ordination. Why? Because the priest handled the body and blood of Christ, a mystery holier than the Holy of Holies. Just as Old Testament priests abstained before entering the sanctuary, Exodus 19 verse 15, Christian priests were called to be completely set apart. Already by the 2nd and 3rd centuries, bishops and theologians spoke of continence as expected, even among married clergy. And the councils confirmed it. Council of Elvira, c. 305 AD forbade ordained clergy from conjugal life. Council of Carthage, 390 AD reaffirmed that priests must live in perfect continence, even if married. Then celibacy became the norm. As the church grew in size, influence, and structure, it became clearer, celibacy worked, both practically and spiritually. It freed priests to serve the flock wholeheartedly. It prevented church lands from being passed down to heirs. It visibly imitated the celibate life of Jesus Christ, the great high priest. So in 1139, the Second Lateran Council made priestly celibacy the law in the Latin Rite. This wasn't a new invention, it was the mature fruit of centuries of reflection, a discipline rooted in apostolic purity. Why Jesus? Why celibacy? Because Jesus, the high priest, was celibate. He didn't marry a woman. He gave himself to the church, his bride. The priest mirrors this love. He is not unmarried. He is married to the church. He has no biological children, but becomes a spiritual father to thousands. Counterclockwise arrows button. What about the Eastern churches? In the Eastern Catholic and Orthodox traditions, married men can be ordained, but cannot marry after ordination. Even they require bishops to be celibate, and honor virginity as a higher calling. So celibacy is not a rejection of marriage, it's a sacrifice for a higher good. So why don't Roman priests marry? Because once they did, and it threatened the holiness of the altar. Because it endangered the mission of the gospel. Because it blurred the priesthood with power, property, and politics. Today, the priest stands as a sign. Free to go wherever God calls. Untangled from inheritance and ambition. Radiantly available to the church. He says no to one kind of love. So he can say yes to all of us. Open book celibacy is not the absence of love. It is the presence of a love so fierce, so consuming, that it cannot be divided. God bless you. Folded hands.